Hello, and welcome to episode 38 of Anime Territory. I'm your host this week, Jonathan Roewe, or Johnny, or whatever. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Benjamin, a city in the United Kingdom shabbing.
Okay.
With us this week is returning guest, our good friend, Dylan Roewe. And we're talking about one of his favorite animes, Charlotte, which is 13 episodes, available now on Crunchyroll.
And Hulu.
Oh, and Hulu? Okay. Anyway, we're not sponsored by either of them, because who would sponsor us? But that's what we're talking about this week, Charlotte. So, you texted us, when are we doing this? When are we watching this show? And I'm like, I don't know, whenever. You're the one with a wife and 3 kids, and at times 2 jobs. Like, just pick a day, and we'll have it watched by then. It's 13 episodes. We watched it all in one night. We still got it, baby.
Still got it.
It's a little late. I was a little tired of work the next morning, but...
Oh, you did? What threw us off is that...
Yeah.
That's rough. Well, we were thrown off because I thought there was 12 episodes, but there's that 13th episode.
I told you there's that 13th. We were at, like, episode 10. You're like, there's only 2 episodes left. I'm like, I'm fairly sure there's 13 episodes. And then another episode's like, only 1 episode left. I'm like, no.
There's still 2. The last episode is called The End.
I didn't know that.
It's not like episode 12 was called the second last episode. It's not like the last episode of a show needs to be called The End. It's not like he was looking for it. The End.
It wasn't called But Wait, There's More.
But wait, there's more.
You reach the end of the episode and you're like, that's an okay stopping point. You kind of see where the adventure is going to go from here. And then...
Well, it's like, okay, yeah, you see what they're going to do now. Oh, that's it. Okay. Ending. Oh, wait, there's another episode? Anyways.
Because if it ended on episode 12, there's not like a defiant ending. And this is one of my favorite shows that has like a perfect ending.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So we're in the spoiler-free section right now. Mm-hmm. What I will say is the ending does wrap a lot of things up.
Yes.
I would not call it perfect. And I've got reasons why. I've got loose ends, and I've got story beat reasons. But we'll get to that. Okay. So, overall thoughts. We know your overall thoughts, Dylan. You love it. It's
in my top 10, so...
Yeah.
It's...
Shabs, what are your thoughts on this?
This show's really fun. I think it has pacing issues in terms of kind of being one type of story and then flipping to another type, getting that resolved, and then going back to another type, and then it just keeps kind of switching its narratives on you suddenly, which kind of jars you, I guess. So it kind of takes you out a little bit, or it's just like... Well,
no, all of a sudden, you were we've been building up this type of show, and now we're sort of done with the school thing, and we're doing this, and then now we're doing this.
And then this happened, like, oh, wow, that's an interesting take. Let's see where this goes. Oh, okay, I like where they're going. Oh, wait, never mind, they did something completely different with this.
Okay.
So it's just like, okay, bold choices. I guess that's what you have to do with a 13-episode season.
There are other solutions to having 13 episodes. This show took the route of, let's try to do all of it.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of other shows were like, let's have an expensive commercial to finish the manga or light novels. And never do another season until, we're just now getting season 2 of Devil's a Part-Timer?
Yeah.
So, no,
I guess overall, it's really fun. I enjoyed it. I have some issues with it, but overall, it's a fun, good show.
I like it overall. I think it picks up towards the back half. I think there are definitely pacing issues. Like, I had more fun watching the back half.
Okay.
Or I guess I should say I had more fun in the first couple episodes, and then, like, episodes 9 through 12. And episode 13 is its own thing that I'll talk about. But I felt rushed at times, and the pacing was off. I also felt, and this might have just been poor subbing, I felt the dialogue was a little awkward at times, where it's just like, that's a really weird way to phrase what you're trying to say. I don't think people talk like that.
Yeah, I think there are mistranslations in that show because the dialogue on sub is kind of weird.
Yeah, and it's not a high enough profile show for me to be like, I really need to watch the dub.
Mm.
But the sub, I don't know. There's just times when I'm like, this feels really melodramatic at times, where it's just like he's composing and he's tearing up his bedpillows, and it's like, I don't know.
Okay.
It just tried to go for something. It swung and missed. That's my other big problem is that there's baseball on this show.
Yeah, baseball episode.
I wrote my notes.
on
Blame Roewe for baseball.
Had two of the
How
best,
dare you make me watch a baseball episode?
I guess 2 of the 3 best types of episodes you could have: baseball and camping.
What is the other best type of episode?
Beach episode.
Oh, okay. I should have known the answer. That was like, as soon as I said it, I'm like, well, it's beach, but what is Ben gonna say?
I was about to say 2 of the best, then I'm like, oh wait, there's a beach episode, so I got to say 2 of the 3.
Okay. So, but okay, I guess let's go into rating then. I think previously I had rated this.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
Roewe, do you want to like defend it or anything before? We
Yeah,
go?
because
I mean, I think the problems that are listed that people have with the show, I mean, they're well found. I mean, it's a not very largely funded 13 episode show that to me has a very satisfying ending, and I loved it. I loved the last 3 episodes a lot, but I can see where it turns a lot of people off, especially, episodes like
episode
4, 5, and 6 is kind of plot heavy, but
I didn't like episode 7. I don't know if that's a hot take or not.
Okay. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
Okay. Am I okay to get into ratings now, Mr. Co-host?
Sure.
Okay.
I just wanted to give him a chance.
Yeah, that's fair. I let him talk to begin with, but I think originally I'd given this maybe a 7 on my anime list. I think I might bring it down to a 6. The last half I would give a 7, but altogether I might give it a 6.5.
Okay. I give it a solid 7. I might bump it up 7.5, but I think it's at least a 7.
Dylan?
See, for me, the show as an entirety is probably an 8, but the last 2 episodes are a 10.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's get out of our non-spoiler section. So now we're doing full spoilers here.
Okay.
I guess no. Before we do full spoilers, I gotta address this now before we get too far. That you asked me what, I don't know your exact words, but you asked me what the deal was with Japanese and nosebleeds.
Sure.
So I want you to tell me what you think the deal is with it first.
Well, I feel like it's like a symbol for like arousing, per se.
Arouse. That's not a real word, but I love it. Arousing.
Well, I don't want to. Well, no.
Surely that's
Arousal.
a word.
Arousal. That's
Surely
what it is.
arousing's a real word. I'm looking that up after
Yeah,
this.
but
I mean, you can Google it right now if you want while
fine.
we talk about this. Okay, so yes, it is most certainly a symbol for arousal.
Mm-hmm.
And for the longest time, that's all I took it as. Because you just pick up on context clues.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, that's
How
what
would
it
you
is.
spell that?
Arousing. AROUSION.
Spell arousal. Remove the end of it, the ol part, and add ion.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
So,
No such thing.
for the longest time, I just took it as like, oh yeah, it just means you're horny.
Yeah.
Means you're aroused.
Me,
And
95%
then-
of the time.
I watched Welcome to the NHK, and the final puzzle piece kind of clicked on me. Which, do you remember? I don't know how well you guys. The spoilers, I guess, for Welcome to the NHK, but the show follows a shut-in who at one point deletes the System 32 folder on his computer to make more room for porn that he was downloading. And like when he's going through that downward spiral, because the show is just him getting different addictions
Yeah.
and having downward spirals and slowly becoming a better person. But during that, he's like, he is, getting nosebleeds, of course. I'm like, oh, yes, the anime nosebleed. He's horny. That makes sense when he's looking at porn. And then I realized he was using tissues to, like, stuff the nosebleeds. And then I realized they had this giant scene where he just watched a bunch of porn and there's a whole bunch of tissues around his apartment. And then I realized, wait a minute, what is a nosebleed? A nosebleed is when blood rushes to your head.
Yeah.
What happens when blood rushes to your other head? You get a boner and you're aroused. I get it. Every anime nosebleed is just a boner joke.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, the final puzzle piece clicked. That's why nosebleeds mean arousal. Mm-hmm. We knew that nosebleeds meant arousal. Now we know why nosebleeds mean arousal.
Yeah,
or at the very least, Welcome to the NHK was maybe that's not common, and Welcome to the NHK just made that leap.
I think we could have talked about that off air because that's exactly what my reasoning, or like if you would have asked, that's what I would have said.
I did ask, and you didn't say all that. I asked you, what do you think it means, and you just said it means arousing.
No, you asked if I knew what it meant, thinking that there was some big philosophical thing for it. I'm like, no, and then you're like, let's talk about it.
Well, I wanted to talk about Welcome to the NHK. Okay. And I thought it was an okay enough conversation that maybe we should record it. But it's like, okay, it's blood rushing to your head. Blood rushing, it's a boner. It's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a clever boner joke. That people don't understand at first. They're like, why is his nose bleeding? And he's like, he's aroused. Or she's aroused, or whatever. Okay.
Now that that's out of the way.
Yeah, now we can get to the synopsis.
Okay, so, Charlotte. First of all, this is a world where some teens, adolescents get superpowers, but they lose them after adolescence, so they like last for like maybe 4 years. Just whenever they're...
Roughly.
Yeah.
2 to 3 to 4.
Anyways, we meet Yu Otosaka. He has the ability to temporarily possess anyone within his line of sight for 5 seconds. That's it. He abuses his power. He like beats people up, but he eventually uses it to like cheat on some entrance exams so that he can get into like the most esteemed high school in his area or whatever he's at. So gets to the high school. He immediately like hits on like one of the popular girls.
Yeah.
Almost hits her with a truck.
Deliberately almost hits her with a truck.
Deliberately almost hits her with a truck.
That was a risky ass move because he full on threw a truck at her.
So
and was trusting himself to be able to jump and save her.
Bold strategy, Cotton, and it paid off because he goes on a date with her. But after that, he gets called to like the principal's office, the president of the schools or student council president. It's like, hey, take this entrance exam because we have reason to believe you might have cheated. So he's like, well, crap. Well, I guess I'll just look at the answer sheets that he's holding. He has porn.
For some reason.
That's what he's got.
Well, that didn't work. And then we are met with Tomori.
Tomori now.
Tomori now. Who has been watching him this whole time and figures out he has powers. So he's like, basically, you have to switch to this school for extraordinary kids. Professor Xavier's school for
gifted children.
Yeah.
Yes.
So him and his sister transfers to this new academy, and he is forced to join their student council with.
Yep, which is really just a ploy for hunting down other special people.
Tomori.
Yeah. And Glasses Goon.
Yeah, underappreciated Glasses Goon, whose name I did not fully capture. All I got was Takajo. Really don't say it that much.
I don't think they ever say it very little. That's episode 1. So
yeah. Dylan, do you have any notes on episode 1?
My notes on episode 1 are I wish I was that good at cheating while I was in school. You know, maybe I would have been ranked higher in my class, not like at the bottom end of the class.
You could have just been naturally smart, like Ben and I have been ranked towards the top of the class.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. That sounds like too much work.
It wasn't.
It really wasn't. Just had to be born this way, I guess.
Just got that innate ability to remember something and then just immediately forget it.
Yep. I remember how to say the castle is green in German. That was never a test question. That was just a sentence I had made up to have something fun to say in German.
That's a fun thing to say in German? The castle is green?
Well, you go like, Das Schloss ist grün! And they're like,
Okay.
why are you yelling at me? And I was just saying that the castle was green.
I feel like that's every German sentence, though.
Yeah, exactly. That was the kind of the point of making up that sentence, because you can make anything sound like you're angry at somebody if you say it in German.
Okay. Well, I guess before we move to episode 1, I just want to point out Tomori has the ability to like be invisible to only one person at a time.
Yeah.
So like she's in a room with 10 people. One person can't see her, but the other 9 could.
Yes.
So what is? I don't know if I asked you this, but I said she should go on Penn and Teller.
Yes. No, we did talk about this. Because you should make herself invisible to Penn, who'll be like, how the fuck did you do that? And Teller, who doesn't talk, will be like, what are you talking about? She just stood there the whole time.
Yeah, she didn't do anything. It's like, what? No, she disappeared. And they probably think it's like mirrors or something. She's like, no. She'd probably win that. I forgot what that's called.
Fool us, something like that.
Yeah.
Allison Hannigan was the host or whatever of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If Penn and Teller were the judges, Allison Hannigan was like we're bringing in this guy. And you fooled me every time.
I can see it. Yeah, she'd be perfect for that role.
Yeah.
Anyways, I just had to bring that up. I thought it'd be funny.
Watch one episode.
Episode 2. Again, joins the student council. Their job is to ensure this. Well, no, I'm trying to read this off of the Wikipedia thing just because it's more detailed, but it's just throwing me off. Student council is in charge of basically finding and recruiting / stopping other kids in like the city from using powers or to transfer to the school. And again, this
scientist.
School is for gifted or suspected gifted.
Yeah, so like his sister doesn't have any powers at the start of the show, but they're like, maybe hereditary. Like Tomori and Tomori's brother both had powers, and it's just something they've noticed.
It's believed that it's if one kid has it, their siblings probably have it as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What is it? I'm just gonna call him Joe.
Takajo.
We meet Takajo.
His power is teleportation, but really it's super speed.
Yeah, it's not teleportation, it's super speed.
It really is.
I don't know why they call it teleportation.
It's funnier that way.
I don't know if it's like him specifically, like he can only like focus on one spot and then he just like jumps there and then he can't stop his momentum, or if it's he like runs and he just can't stop. You know what I mean?
He doesn't focus on one spot. He focuses in a direction and he like activates and releases his power like a second afterwards, and it's just sort of I was shooting at 60 miles an hour in this direction or however fast in this direction for 1 second, and then I suddenly stop and now momentum is carrying me forward.
It's a fitting ability for, the comic relief of the show, though.
Oh, it's really funny. I love that guy. He just goes through that. He's like, I'll go grab us some sandwiches because the line's really long.
And people are used to it, too. They're like, the window's broke again from a sonic boom. I wonder what that's about.
He just obliterates that cafeteria.
Every day.
What is it?
I think it actually happens in 4 episodes.
The first episode, he like destroys that almost fruit stand chasing you. It's just so funny. It's so good. Anyways, we're met with Takahito, the guy who can detect people's abilities, but he has to be wet to do it.
Supposedly.
He's a liar. Anyways, he walks into student council. He tells them where the person or a person with abilities is and what the ability is. And then they're tasked with finding that person. So, this episode 2, we get the guy with thoughtography. He has the ability to produce X-ray photos of girls in their underwear, and then he sells them for profit.
I don't think it's just girls in their underwear.
Oh, that's what that says, but yeah.
Well, that's what he uses it for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just Shiro-looking motherfucker.
I thought it was Shiro.
He's got red hair. He's in the archery club. It's just like, it looks kind of like Shiro.
What is it? Dude, no, Shiro, and he does archery.
Yeah, I said he was in the archery club.
Oh, I blacked out.
You never pay attention to anything I say.
He's in a quick micro sleep.
He shoots an arrow at Tomori, like point blank range, and then
Takajo's like,
Takajo catches it.
Misses it on the
goes
first
right
grab though.
through
He's
the
all
wall.
like, no, then reaches back.
Oh, it's so good.
It's like, how do you not realize that your power is super speed?
How are you not dead? You're just like little random.
He's like, oh, don't worry, I wear armor.
Like hundreds of miles an hour.
Don't worry, I wear armor. What about your head that's bleeding?
Don't worry. Come to
about
find out he's shredded.
Yeah,
later in the
spoiler
show.
alert.
Yeah.
He is shredded.
Man is chiseled.
Then we also learned that Tomori has a big brother who was experimented on because of his ability, and he's like insane now and institutionalized.
Yeah,
Or
like when he's not on his
hospitalized.
meds, he's like tearing up. It's not comforter. That's not the word.
Mm-hmm.
The pillow.
No, it was his futon. That's specifically what it was. Tearing up his futon, and they're like, another futon ruined. And he's like, that's what he's doing when he thinks he's composing. It's like, okay, whatever. I don't know. It all just struck like it tried to go deep, and I just couldn't care. It's like, yeah, you're not quite selling me on this.
She also like escaped from being experimented on too. And she like doesn't trust anybody except for like the one person that helped her escape.
Who could that be?
We
Which
don't know.
can we talk about my note of I really don't remember this show because I didn't remember a lot of specifics.
Oh yeah.
But as we were watching, I'm like, okay, I sort of remember him grabbing the sandwiches scene where he teleports and tries to grab the sandwiches. Like as it was happening, I'm like, yes, this is coming back to me. When Yu's younger sister has a dream about another family member, I'm like, I think that's an older brother. And then I also remember the last episode, how we'll jump ahead a little bit. We're in the spoiler section, but spoiler for the last episode, when we learn that his power is actually stealing other people's powers, and he has to go and steal everybody's power. I remember that being in an episode.
I think you learned.
Oh, and I remember that
in like episode 10.
Yeah.
But I remember distinctly the last episode being him traveling around the world and gaining everybody's power.
Yeah.
Like, I remember that. I also remembered that it's a romance with him and Tomori. That's the other thing. It's like the one other thing I remember. So that's all I remember from the show going into it.
Gotcha.
Ben, you were like, did they do time travel at some point? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe.
Yes.
Spoiler, yes.
Anyways, episode 3, we meet Yusa. Or is it Misa?
Yusa Misa.
Misa. You meet Jar Jar.
Misa Jaja. Yusa Basness.
Yusa.
But they go there, talk to the wet guy.
The wet guy.
Like, the person with 2 abilities. That's weird. We meet Yusa Nishimori. She's an idol for a popular band called Hello Hello.
Yep. But her real name is Yusa Korobane.
Yes.
And her power is she's just easily possessed.
She's easily possessed.
And she's easily possessed by her sister, Misa Nishimori. Sorry, no, Misa Korobane. Because Nishimori is the fake name. Whose power is fire.
Yeah, pyrokinesis.
It all changed the day the Fire Nation attacked.
And they do like a thing where they're like, she sort of saw some higher up's phone and there's
something on there.
Some controversial dirt in there.
Probably like a dick pic or something. I don't know.
Or something like.
There's a lot of porn in this show.
I was going darker than that. I was going like, he has, I don't know, like sexually assaulted somebody or
tied to the Yakuza.
Or just, something like that where it's just like, porn is whatever. Because you have porn. But if you have like terrible porn, like if you have like child porn or something, it would be like.
He subwayed it?
I'd be like, yeah. But they're like, there's no like good answer here because she can't promise not to say anything because they won't trust that that'll happen. So instead they're like, well, let's dress up 2 of our guys to pretend to be his security, like take them out silently. And then we'll set them on fire with their powers. And then we'll use some of the other people's powers to like make it think that she has more than one thing. And I'm just over here like, I feel like the fire would have been enough.
Right?
Well, I don't think they would have
2 people on fire.
I really feel like we didn't need to also have the teleporting guy take someone out. And then I think beat the shit out of him with Tomori being invisible to the guy.
I think you took over somebody and like he punched the other.
Oh yeah. It's just like,
or like he knocked himself. I don't know.
Something like that, and it's just like you really probably could have just used the fire.
Yeah.
That was one of the scenes where I'm just like, they're not quite hitting it right here. This is not quite a fully fleshed out idea, or it's too fleshed out of an idea. Maybe that makes sense for teenagers coming up with it. I don't know. But it's just like, I really feel like the fire would have been enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then they recruit them for the
student council.
The student council. So we have another student council member, which Takajo is like a big fangirl.
Mega simp.
For Yusa. So we have that. We have that comedy element thrown in.
That one I don't care about.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, okay, if Takajo is going to be on screen, he's going to be fanboying over this, and I don't know. I don't like that bit much. No. I think it's funnier when he's teleporting and wearing armor. And I need more of those scenes. I need more of him being a bro to you.
No, that's later. But there's the bit where like Tomori pushes him out a window.
It's like, he'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
And then at one point later, he's like, weird, it's happened to me like 3 times. It's like, yes, Tomori has pushed him out of windows a couple of times.
All right, episode 4 is baseball episode.
Hold on. I got another on episode 3.
Okay, go for it.
It's a character you never see again throughout the show. Red-haired dude's friends with Misa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one who
totally wants to bang a dead chick.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've all been there.
What?
Wait. Huh, okay.
Interesting.
What? Maybe we haven't all been there. You guys telling me you've never watched an old movie and like, that's a hot-ass chick. Too bad she's dead.
Nope, can't say I have.
You should watch Barbarella.
She's alive, isn't she?
Not for much longer.
Fantasies haven't set in yet.
Jane Fonda, right?
I think so.
Is she still alive?
Never mind. Take that back. Lucille Ball, she's dead, right?
Sure.
Betty White.
Ooh, too soon.
Too soon to want to have sex with Betty White? I think it's a little late for that, actually.
Episode 4 is the baseball episode.
Which Johnny does not appreciate.
Yeah.
It was fine.
It was fine.
I like this episode.
It's like, it's bad enough I'm going to a baseball game later this year. Now I have to watch it in anime, too.
What is it? They are suspicious of this baseball pitcher because he's like an amazing pitcher known for his knuckleball. But Tomori does the like sexiest thing ever and analyzes the tape and is like, that's not the right grip for a knuckleball.
That's a 4-seam.
That's a fastball grip. He's tipping his pitches or whatever.
He's full of shit.
I had a theory, which I think would have turned out a lot better. I wanted the pitcher to be not realizing how he's such a good pitcher, because I wanted the power to be the catcher's power, and he's just like helping his bro out. But his friend is getting all the slack. So, like, I really wanted when he was, like, playing dumb, like, what are you talking about, superpowers? I don't have any superpowers. I wanted him to not be playing dumb. I wanted them to approach him and say, superpowers are real and you have them. And him to be like, what is this bitch talking about? Because it was the catcher the whole time.
Well, it's also, like, his motivation was, like, yeah, I wanted me and the catcher to be, like, successful baseball players. I'm just like, dude, that's not how baseball works. They're not going to have the same catcher with you. If he's not good enough, he's not going to make the team.
You saw for love of the game. Yeah. That guy was just like, today's the day I'm throwing with this catcher. Pitchers have
Well, yeah, they have their specific catchers, but that doesn't mean he's good enough to make the team.
I know.
It's not like the pitcher gets to specifically pick what catcher they want.
That's who I want to catch this ball.
But here's the thing. You're not thinking of it... You're thinking of it as a pro baseball playing in America. Yeah. You're not thinking of it as... They're going to choose to go to the same college and try out for the baseball team. And he knows that his friend is a great catcher.
Gotcha.
And he knows that he can use his power to become, this pitcher. And if they really want him to come to their school and be his pitcher or whatnot, he might have some leeway of saying, like, yes, but I'll only pitch with my friend as the catcher. Mm-hmm. Otherwise it won't work quite right.
Gotcha.
So, like, he could have some leeway. That was his plan. Not, like, miraculously get put on the same pro baseball team together, but get to the college level, get to a level where people are paying attention and can recognize his friend's talent. Because they're watching him, they'll also be watching his friend, who's the catcher, and the people who can recognize real talent will see that. And then, at that point, he doesn't care if he flames out. He doesn't... Like, he wants to play baseball with his friend for a long time, and he wants to be good enough to keep up with that catcher's skill. So it made sense. It's just, you're right. There's a lot of variables that are like, okay, you're not necessarily going to get picked up by the same team, but you can basically draw attention to him by drawing attention to yourself.
Well, it was pretty impressive to see that catcher catch that knuckleball. It was a pretty good pitch.
Well, it's the same pitch every time, though.
I mean, not really, though, at the same time. It's always in a different spot. But
the whole thing was, like, the reason he misses that last pitch is because he went farther than he usually does.
Yeah, he went further than he usually does. But you're not thinking of it in terms of a circle, Ben. I could go here or here on the circle, and that's two different spots, but the same distance from the center. This time, the guy was like, okay, instead of going down here, instead of this radius, yeah, I know. Instead of this radius here that I normally throw it in, and it's going to be in that radius, I'm like 2 feet under that without any indication that I'm going to be going lower. The guy is going to be like, wait a minute, I don't have enough reaction time to get that far down because I didn't know it would be coming that far down. That's why the last pitch failed. It wasn't because it was in a different spot, it's because it was still too far out.
In a different spot.
Yes, but I don't think a knuckleball would work very well if it was always in the same spot. Its unpredictability is what makes the knuckleball hard to hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously every knuckleball he throws does not go to the same spot. But it's
telekinesis. He can mark it where he wants it every time. That's the whole reason why it's so good.
But the catcher doesn't know where he's going to put it. He has to react.
That's the whole point of that catcher, is that he knows where he's going to put it.
Yeah. And he didn't go far enough down because he was used to a certain level. He went too far. He nudged the ball.
He did a different spot. It's a different spot. The spots can change, but he's used to them in certain spots. And the reason it failed is because it was a different spot.
Okay.
Than what it usually is.
Ben, if I throw a ball at you.
Yeah.
And I throw it towards your chest every time, even if it's not right at your chest, it could be here. It could be a little bit higher, could be dead center, could be down a little bit lower. What if, instead of that, I threw it at your ball sack?
Okay.
Do you think, if you're used to a chest throw every time, maybe it's a little bit different, and then you threw it to your ball sack, you would maybe, just maybe, be thrown off guard a little bit that it's way further off than normal?
Yes.
Okay. That's what happened with the pitch. It was way further off than normal.
Okay. Whatever.
It seems so simple. Like, he went too far with it. He wasn't always putting the knuckleball in the same place, because otherwise, batter would be able to hit it.
I think
a good batter would be able to be like, okay,
in real life,
this ball was here.
Your explanation makes total sense, but since it was an anime, every animation was the exact same spot.
I wasn't paying attention to where it was exactly.
You're thinking real life. I'm thinking the anime.
I'm thinking the anime can't capture what would happen in real life if somebody had telekinesis and was throwing a knuckleball.
It's like in the anime, it's like the exact same spot every time.
Well, that's a budget reason.
Yeah,
that's
not
what actually happened. That's an artistic interpretation of what would have happened. Okay,
that's
otherwise he would not be able to throw perfect games like that because how does somebody not get wise that it's always right there?
It's because of the movement.
Just gotta ignore that. A good enough batter would be able to ignore that.
I just don't know why they don't bunt every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've talked too much about baseball. I'm in charge of this.
They challenge him to a game, they win the game, the guy has to stop using his powers.
But if they would have just did substance checks like they do in the MLB, surely they would have found it.
There's no substance.
You're telling me that's the whole point. They don't want them to get caught in a substance check. Because then they'll be like, there's some weird disease going on with this guy.
Check the ball. He's spitting on it.
So like that episode of Bob's Burgers where the famous local baseball player uses the grease from Bob's ball to throw his unpredictable pitches.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah. And it's a whole like don't meet your heroes message sort of thing.
Although, to be fair, in this episode, Takajo's simping kind of like scared me a little bit. Like he was ready to lick spit off of a baseball field, and I almost.
Are you not
cried.
willing to lick spit off a baseball field? You're telling me your favorite waifu spits near you. You're not even thinking about it?
Not if it's on the sandy, dirty baseball field.
Okay.
I'm not doing it regardless. That's just gross.
Okay.
I'm not a spit guy.
What if it was on a desk and it was drool? Yeah, okay. This is an audio medium. You can just pantomime licking off of the desk.
For the two people who have still stayed on to this episode, Roewe just basically said yes.
You, my friend, should watch Mysterious Girlfriend X. Ben should watch it too.
I think I started watching that at one point and then stopped really quickly.
Quick premise. Girl drools on her desk because she fell asleep. Guy gets curious, tastes it, and it's like, huh, it's sweet. And then he becomes physically addicted to it. And she sort of becomes his girlfriend. And I started reading the manga after I watched the show, and I got caught up with it. This was maybe 7 years ago. And they were released monthly. And I'm like, I'm not going to remember to look at this next month.
All right.
So I haven't seen it since. And there may be implications that she's an alien. That somebody was like, is it real that she's an alien? I'm like, I didn't get that whatsoever. But there is little alien memorabilia, like a little UFO pencil eraser and little things like that. So maybe? But that's the premise of the show.
Interesting.
I should rewatch Mysterious Girlfriend X.
Episode 5 is the camping episode.
Yep, they're trying to find a guy who's practicing flying in the mountains. So they go camping in the mountains. And then they trick him into falling into a well. And then it's like, now you can't say that you can't fly because you just flew out of that well instead of falling to your death.
Yeah.
They go camping, they go fishing. The boys have to bathe in to bathe in the river while Yusa/Misa gets to bathe in a hot trash can filled with water, which is actually like a very traditional Japanese bath method.
It's just a barrel. It's probably a barrel she found out there, and it's completely rusted and full of chemicals and stuff.
Those are called bath bombs. Nutrients.
Oh.
Gotta get your iron.
That's one way to get it.
Let's see.
The big takeaway from this episode is that Now is always thinking about meat and really, really likes meat.
Yes, they have a fun scene where they go shopping, and he's like, "We should buy some vegetables," and she's like, "No, meat."
meat good.
Also, this is where like Joe and Eustace is like, those two should just bang already.
Yeah. we start to go. We're hitting harder the developing like relationship between these two, which there's a very interesting scene. It's a little bit later. It's when his sister is sick.
Yeah, that's next episode. So this episode again, they catch Flying Boy.
Tell him don't fly no more.
But
Komori tells you about her favorite band, Ziend.
I would pronounce it Ziend.
Ziend.
Like
Ziend!
Ziend.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I get this. This is good. And she's like, well, take my MP3 player. I'm going to buy another one anyway.
This is also the first time you get foreshadowing of how you kind of... I think he suspects something because he stops himself from falling by activating the ability of flight instead of just sliding onto the ground.
You get the sense that he might have done that.
Because, like, right before, he's falling through that tree, he goes, whoa, and then levitates down gently.
Well, he was like...
No, I think he, like, stopped.
He was still in the dude's body when he did that, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was in that one dude's body. So, like, it wasn't like
he feels the pain out of every body that he's in. He's all like, yo, this is gonna hurt.
Yeah, so he uses... We don't... It would make sense that he would be able to fly when he's in the flying guy's body. Like,
okay.
It wouldn't make sense if he was able to fly in his own body. So if he had flown in his own body, then we would be like, oh, yes, he took their powers. But since he was still in the other guy's body, I would not suspect that now I have the power of flight just because I was able to fly while in this guy's body.
That's true.
Just like how if he had one arm, and if he only had his right arm, and when he was in a normal two-armed person's body, I don't want to say normal, that's not right, but if he was in a body of a two-armed person and he could move his left hand, it's not like he's going to gain that power when he goes back to his body. Okay. So it's just like, yeah, you can fly, just like, if I had a left hand, I'd be able to move my left hand, sort of thing.
That's the first time he tried using another person's powers, though.
It is the first person he tried using another person's power. So what we learned is he can use their powers if he's in their body.
Yes.
And then later it's like, no, you just straight up get their powers and they can never use it again. Mm-hmm. Which we get a hint of that in the baseball episode because Tamori is like, take control of that guy real quick. And he does, and he's like, what was that about? Just don't worry about it. Just testing something.
But yeah, that's episode 5. Episode 6, the sister Ayumi.
Yes, Ayumi Otosaka.
Stays home because she's sick. Student council comes in. They found a person with the ability to collapse, which is basically what it says, collapse.
It's like earthquake, sort of.
Destroy
make
stuff.
things collapse.
Mm-hmm. In Ayumi's condo complex, so they kind of maybe suspect that it's her, but they don't know anything. It's
probably somebody who's homesick today, which there might be more than one person homesick, but they're like compounded with the fact that this is a show and it would make plot sense that it actually is your sister for sure, and the in-show reason of siblings are more susceptible, so they're like, well, let's go check on her just to make sure.
Yeah, so they check on her. Don't get much info other than that.
She had a nightmare.
Yeah, she had a nightmare.
You learn that she has a nightmare.
People from her class are there. A boy that asked her out. A girl that clearly likes the boy that asked her out. And like one person who's just sort of like a mediator.
Yeah. The happy-go-lucky friend.
Yeah. That's just sort of like, you should quit trying to hit on her. She already said no.
Yeah. So give it up.
Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Don't try to keep pressing her.
But,
she said no.
He's kind of worried, so he tells Ayumi to stay home one more day. The next day. But she feels fine, so she sneaks out and goes to school. When she goes to school, she is confronted by that knife chick.
Yep. The chick who's jealous of her.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm going to stab you with a knife. I never write her name down. She's not important.
Yeah.
I want to stab you with a knife. And she's like,
Her name in my notes is literally Psycho Chick that reminds me of school days.
Okay. All right.
She's got a knife.
What? No, I don't.
But yeah, Knife Chick confronts Ayumi about stealing her boyfriend, even though
people
section.
assumed he was my boyfriend because we were always alone together at lunch, and now you came into the scene, and he's got eyes only for you, and that's clearly your fault, and not deep-seated insecurities on my end.
So
and it's not like you can control what this boy is horny for, so I will stab you.
And I haven't even tried to talk to him about my feelings for him, so it's your fault.
Or talk to you about my feelings. I'm just gonna stab you. That's the most logical.
I mean, it makes sense.
That makes sense. It checks out.
It's a flight or fight situation, I'm gonna just stab you,
Speaking of fight or flight, Ayumi decides to fight, and that flight of stairs goes down.
And half the building.
Yeah. And she's dead.
She dies.
And I'm like, oh. And she dies. So this is when you're like, do they have time travel? Because you were just a little bit incredulous. And I'm like, kind of forgot that she died. I don't know if they save her with time travel or maybe. And I'm like, do they have time travel in this show?
Yeah, so this happens like, oh, okay, this show took a turn. So then we get the next episode where it's you dealing with her death and probably the worst way possible. Becomes a recluse, then leaves, goes on a rampage with defeating gangsters and mobsters and stuff with sticks.
So
go ahead. I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah. So I'll talk about this episode. I don't like this episode because I feel like it just sort of it just sort of trivializes grief and mental illness, and it doesn't seem very realistic. It also makes a connection between video game violence and real world violence that I don't quite agree with.
Yeah, that part I can understand.
Because like I like when he's like a shut-in and he's mean to the one girl. Like they get the one girl that he had a crush on or whatnot in the first episode to come and try to cheer him up, and he's mean to her, and I'm like, yes, be mean to her. What the fuck right does she have coming back into your life at this moment? And and I think that's shutting yourself off is a real way that people deal with grief, but is maybe taken a bit to the extreme. And then when he's like, oh, I'm having a lot of fun shooting these zombies in this video game, I'm like, I see where they're going. Yeah. This is not healthy and not like, I don't like that connection between video game violence and real violence. I think the show was making that connection, and then it starts turning into real violence because other people are playing the game, so he starts taking over their bodies and having them punch each other and stab each other, and sort of makes his way to the gang hierarchy. People don't want to fuck with him anymore, sort of thing. He's like, real violence is so much better than video games. And then at one point he steals drugs from somebody, and that's when Now decides to reveal herself. She's like, if you do drugs, you'll never be a human again. Which is a bit of an extreme stance.
Well, it's also, you realize she's been there the whole time and just like...
I like that part. I like the part that she was just silently there the whole time with him.
You didn't try to stop him before he almost killed that guy?
Yeah, like, this is the point where you're stopping him when he's about to do drugs.
Not when
he's, like, stabbing people.
Murder, but drugs?
Drugs is where you draw the line.
80% of people in the 80s did drugs. You can get off of that shit.
It's like, it's a bad thing.
Yes.
I get wanting to stop him from doing the drugs. I get that. But saying you'll never be human again if you do drugs is just very, like, that's a weird attitude to have.
I don't know why she didn't step in when he stabbed the guy twice in the leg with chopsticks.
Yeah. I was gonna stab that dude in the eye.
It's like, oh, but you're gonna do coke? Okay, I gotta stop you. Like, I don't condone doing coke. I really don't. I want to make that part clear. I just think that it was weird that that's when she decides to step in.
That's the weird hill to, like, die on, I guess.
You're fine with him stabbing people.
The start of this episode makes me cry, and then my ending notes on this episode is waifu rescues to save mans from coke bender.
Like, I really like the twist that she was there the whole time. You can look at my notes. Okay. I have it written down. But it's just, It was a bit rushed. It was not very... I didn't think it was a very believable turn of events that Slippery Slope he went down. I didn't like a lot of the connections he made. I didn't like how they're like, drugs is where we'll stop the line. I'm glad that she stopped him.
Yeah.
I just thought, you really should have stopped him quite a bit of ways from there.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, you put pizza sauce. You made it like my sister made it. I'm pretty much all better now. It's like, yeah, I don't believe that either. Like,
I like the idea of like exploring his grief and stuff. I just don't think they did it.
I don't think they did it well. Yeah. Yes. I like it's fine if he's sad after his sister dies. That is fine. I didn't it seemed cranked up to the maximum, and I just didn't really believe it that much. That's my gripe with episode 7.
Was that it on episode 7?
Yeah, I don't know. I have a note here after episode 7 that says witches, but maybe that's a different note for a different episode. I really figured I would have remembered what I meant by witches.
They mention witches in like episode 10, I think.
Yeah, when they're like, when this has happened before, I'm like,
yeah.
Witches.
Okay, so episode 8, Yu goes back to school. Student council watches Yusa's new music video, which to me was very bad. Not very good.
The music just seemed like so soft, like they weren't like committed to like fully playing it. They're like,
it's just like this weird like punk emo pop video,
which is fine. I like that, but the music was just like,
Wait, we are talking about
Yusa's music video.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like it just seemed like she wasn't quite loud enough. If that makes sense,
Didn't fit at all.
It was just like,
yeah. I really didn't take any notes on that. It's literally just what happens at the end of this episode is what I took notes on because that song is fabulous. Like, such a good song. Sounds beautiful, sung beautifully.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking.
The end is good.
Yeah, the end song. I'm like, use this music video? Really?
No,
okay.
Use the song sucks.
I was like, no, that. I'm like, I kind of forgot that because it's not even in my notes. I forgot that happened this episode.
Oh, speaking of music, the opening for this show is very mid. It's not very good.
Oh yeah, it didn't even grow on me.
It's
just bland.
Okay. Yeah,
it's just your average.
I don't have any
bland.
I have never rated a show on opening or outro music.
Oh, that's fine. It's
fine.
Just sometimes it adds an extra
I agree because like Unravel from Tokyo Ghoul's almost one of my favorite songs ever, and
I don't know.
It's just a good opening or ending can add to your excitement for a show.
Yeah, when we're watching like Sunny Boy and the closing goes, we're so fucking hyped because we're like, oh yeah, love this. This song is my jam. We're watching Love Is War. Any of the 3 seasons, we're like, this is a bop. Yeah. This opening is a bop. I'm excited to listen to the opening.
Get you excited for the episode.
I've not finished watching Love Is War. Because I've read the whole thing and
okay, that's fine.
It's just like, the show is just not as good as the manga. It really is.
I think it's okay. I have to put a caveat here. I read the manga picking up where season 3 ends.
Okay,
so I did not experience what was converted into seasons 1 through 3 in manga form yet.
Yeah, see, I read the whole thing before I watched the first episode of the show. So
also, don't watch the dub. I heard the dub of Miyuki, and I'm like, that's the voice they're going for?
Johnny, I don't watch dubs, period. I think all dubs suck. They're garbage. It's not how they're supposed to sound.
You need to watch Welcome to the NHK dub with me. Yes. That show is good.
That's not how they're meant to sound.
That's true. I like Fate Zero's dub.
I can go either way for Fate
Zero.
All
dubs to me just sound so...
It's because you're not watching
forced.
Any good ones.
Well, even ones that you said are good. Like, I've watched Fate and dub, and I think it just...
Ben says it's good. Garbage. I think it's fine.
Sorry,
I prefer sub for Fate Zero. I'll say it. But you get Fooly Cooly. You get...
What's Cowboy Bebop subbed?
Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
What's Cowboy Bebop subbed?
Mm-hmm. You don't watch it dubbed?
No. It's garbage.
No, it's not. Wow. It's so good.
You just want to kick him off the podcast?
Getting back to getting the fuck out of my house.
Play the clip from our testing of audio. Get the fuck out of my house. Okay.
Okay.
Episode 8. He meets a blind chick, and he's like, a blind girl.
Hold on. Before that, I always forget her name. Tomori
Now.
invites him to a ZN concert because the other two don't want to go, and it's just like, I mean, yeah, of course he's gonna go with her, but he likes her. Anyways, now go ahead.
Okay, and then they're like, oh, I don't know when this was mentioned, but they're like,
a little while later.
They said something like, oh yeah, I think she does a really good job because she's got an interesting take on the world because she's blind. And it's like, okay, let's see how that could influence.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes you wonder if she has powers, like after you finish the show.
That's a loose end I want to talk about. So we'll get to that. But I just like that he has no idea what she looks like. He sort of knows what her singing voice is like. But a little while later, he meets a blind woman whose voice might be sort of similar, even though it's her talking voice and not her singing voice. And it's just like, oh my god, I wonder if this is the one woman I know who's blind in the world, and not the million other blind women out there. It could be.
Well, she wasn't speaking Japanese at the time, so like he's like, random blind woman not speaking Japanese.
She wasn't speaking Japanese?
No.
I think it's under the impression that she was speaking a different language.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least at the beginning when they meet.
Maybe I was paying too much attention to
she
the
was speaking
subtitles.
English when they met, because, I mean...
Yeah, I guess there is a line where she
Japanese
says,
later.
like, oh,
Yeah.
I can speak Japanese. And he's like, oh, okay. I thought she was speaking poor Japanese, and that's why he was trying to speak English to her or something. And she's like, no, I can speak Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's just like why, how do you think that that's the one blind person you've heard of and not just some other blind person? Like, I get, and Ben and I had this whole argument where Ben was like, of course it's her, and this is a show. And I'm like, yes, Ben, I get that we're supposed to know it's her. How is he supposed to know that it's her?
It's like that thing. It's like, this is an anime. Of course it's the one blind chick they mentioned.
Like, yes, I know that we know that. I just think it's weird that he jumped to that conclusion.
Pavlov's blind girl.
Okay.
Sorry, Chekhov's blind girl.
It's like she salivates when you offer her a treat? Or when you ring a bell? Weird.
Sorry, Chekhov's.
Chekhov's blind girl.
Yeah.
But no, okay, so they meet, and he's like, oh, a friend of mine's a really big fan. Let me see if she wants to meet. And Tamori's like, no, I don't want to meet her, which is weird.
Don't meet your heroes.
Why you wouldn't want to meet her? When earlier in the anime she said that, like, the reason she's got a camcorder all the time is she wants to make videos and she wants to, like, direct music videos for that band.
It's a job.
And it's just like, at some point, you want to work for them, and you don't want to establish that networking connection now. When you have a chance to, like,
all she wants is a photo.
Okay. This is a community reference for the episode. Can we get a fresh start on the talking of this episode? There's our other guy's reference. Okay. So she's like, nope, don't want to meet her. So he's like, okay, well, can you phone the hospital place? I want to take her to meet your brother. And she's like, okay.
Sure.
And then she goes, and she's like, he's composing. I get this. And she sings a song, and he's magically cured.
He's not cured, but
he like starts talking, and like, no, he's like making remarkable progress. So it's like,
he's not healed though.
I wouldn't say healed, but he can talk, and he asks for now. He specifically says like, oh yeah, the hospital called and said that he asked for me, like,
which is also
saying that's not
this
cured,
event is also foreshadowing for the next episode.
I want to talk about a little bit of foreshadowing with episode 7. He like threatens to like take out a guy's eye, and it's like, oh, doesn't One Eye sound like a cool name? It's like, yes, foreshadowing. Yeah. Is there anything else in episode 8, or can we move on to episode 9?
No, the only
episode 8. The only thing I have notes on is the song at the end too. Yeah. Now his brother. So everything else is kind of negligible in that episode.
Gotcha. Episode
Besides
9.
her loving noodles and wanting to get drunk and eat noodles. That sounds like a good time too.
Also, the guy did the same thing that you did. It's like, wait, you're a blind chick? Are you that band person?
You mean the noodle shop guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
He does the same thing.
It's like, come on.
You play music and you're blind? Are you this one band lead?
Come on, people. I can name 2 other blind musicians. You should be able to, too.
Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder.
Yes. It's like, it's not... There's 2 mega musician stars that are blind. I think it's okay for people to be blind and be able to play music.
Beethoven was deaf, right?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Ozzy's blind too.
Is he blind now?
Ozzy Osbourne now.
I don't think he was blind when he was really famous, though.
He did eat a bat.
Did you think that was because he was blind?
So
Did
it
you
could
think
have
he's
been.
like, yes, this lovely chicken dinner.
I'm just saying, somebody could have been like,
Sharon,
here's
chicken
a
dinner.
sandwich.
Thanks for this sandwich. It's a weird tasting sandwich. It's wiggling.
It tastes like bat.
It's got wings.
Did I eat another bat again? You guys told me to stop putting bats in my hand. Telling me it was sandwiches. Okay. That was a tangent we went on. Okay.
Episode 9.
I told you, my episodes are always long.
They go...
We're only at frag time. It's not too long.
Yeah, we're at frag time. They go to the End concert. And then you feels a familiar sensation upon hearing the supposed brand new song.
And he passes out from having a panic attack.
And then he has memory, I guess?
Yep, he has a memory of a different timeline, which I'm going to complain about in my loose threads category here at the end. But
Okay.
for some reason, that song jogs his memory, and he remembers, wait a minute, the world used to be different. I used to be in this facility for people with powers, and then like an elaborate heist was figured out to try to save my sister and get my brother to have his powers back so that he could turn back time and change the future. I mean, do you want me to gripe about this right now?
Sure,
Do
go
it.
for it.
Okay, first of all, it's never explained how the hell that happens. It's not Steins Gate, where you're like jumping different world lines and you have memories of different things happening. It's time leaping. Why did he remember that exact world line because of a music song? Why did nobody else remember the world line by any sort of triggers? Why is it him only?
Why is it that
has
one song?
Well, you know, that one song is a trigger, which, like, I get that it's a trigger because, wait a minute, I've heard this and it's a brand new song. Like, I get that part.
Like,
but like,
that could be like Deja Vu, though, or something.
yeah, like, you feel like there could have been a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Why did he not remember any of the other, like, thousands of timelines that his brother has setting up this exact timeline here? I don't know if it's thousands, but there's implied to be lots of timelines, time leaps that his brother was taking until he became fully blind. And so it's like, okay, how did he not remember any of those? You know, why did nobody else remember anything from these timelines? The only thing I could think that would be somebody else remembering is, spoilers, right when the wet guy, who was his brother's best friend, died. He's like, so Pooh was always a lie. That was never my nickname. Maybe that's him remembering that, wait, it was never a nickname. That's the only reason, it's the only way I can make sense of that line, other than, I guess I'm dead and we never had a reason for you to call me Winnie the Pooh, so I guess it was a lie this whole time. I don't know why he said that line. It's the only other instance of maybe somebody remembering a past world line. It's just, I don't believe the trigger for that. It's not like he absorb the powers of somebody who can remember time leap world lines. That never happened.
He
that we
can't
saw.
read Steiner.
He doesn't have reading Steiner. This is in Steins Gate.
God, that's the one thing in Steins Gate I always wanted to know. It's like somebody else could read Steiner, and every time he does it, someone's just like, what the fuck is happening?
Other people have reading Steiner. It's his is just more developed. Because,
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like somebody has his same, I guess, ability to read it that well.
Yeah, nobody else ever has it that well, but people can have memories from past world lines come up. But that's a completely different mythology of how time travel works, and there's 3 different versions of time travel in that show, and really only one of them has anything to do with reading Steiner. So, yeah, I get that we needed to have that scene. I don't like how it wasn't ever explained or paid off in some way other than we need this to happen, so we'll have this happen.
Yeah.
Maybe the manga or light novels or whatever the source material explains it eventually, but that's something they just never really touch on. It's like, oh yeah, this happened, and you just got to go with it. Okay.
Mm.
That's my complaint about that.
Yeah, and then at the end, Pooh, who we've talked about, wet guy, Kumagami,
Something like that.
takes him to a secret underground haven where they meet his brother, Shinsuku.
And they're like,
Shinsuki.
take my power. I can't use it anymore because I'm blind, but you should still be able to steal it from me.
Mm-hmm.
Go back in time and save her little sister.
Yep. Before that, though, episode 10, we get the flashback to where Shinsuki and Kumagami, as well as the other people, keep trying to
Yeah, they keep
fix the
trying
timeline,
to fix the timeline and set up this current timeline.
But do it multiple times, never works, and he comes to realize that basically every time he uses it, his vision gets worse, and he theorizes, and it comes true that once he loses his vision, he can't use his powers again.
Yeah. Other thing I want to note is I believe on his way to like the hospital or on his way back or on his way talking to the blind band lady that he's like, oh, I really, really like Tamori. She's made me a better person.
Mm-hmm. I
should probably like do something about this. And then which sets up a scene that I like where when in the original timeline when Ayumi is sick, she's just like, oh, you guys, she's like, they're like, we need to go talk outside, and she's like, oh yeah, yeah,
got the uwu face on,
and then they're both just like, it's nothing like that in the original timeline. And they travel back in time, that same scene plays out, and then only Tamori says it's nothing like that, and he just kind of turns and looks at her weird. It's like, it's like, I like that. That's a nice touch right there.
I didn't notice that.
Which that's my biggest thing about the show is I believe the getting a little bit into All Aboard, but the Tamori Yu ship works, which it's a big thing that catapults the show in. All the like complaints I've listed, I like that the Tamori Yu stuff, that chemistry works. It's there. I don't like how it seemed really rushed at the end. I would have liked more time. Yeah. Before he's like, I'm gonna go save the world.
It's like they've never confessed their feelings to each other, and they just say they love each other.
And he's like, I love you, and she's like, what? Which is a great moment. Which is like, the fuck you talking about? I guess I sort of like you.
Let's just first start by saying I don't like you at all.
Anyway.
It's like if you go save the world, yeah, we can be lovers, which is a cringe word for some people.
I don't like it.
I think my aunt doesn't like it either. It's a weird word. I'm like, whatever. It seems a little like, ooh, we're lovers, and I'm like, that's a little. Like, can't you just say boyfriend and girlfriend or dating or
married couple,
romantically entangled or you know, like lovers is such like a lovers is such a. It implies having sex, but in like a kid-friendly way. Yeah. And Fuck Buddies does not imply it. Fuck Buddies screams it from the rooftops. All right? Lovers is like, this is something we can say in front of children, but we're talking about how we have sex. And it's like, I don't know. I don't like it. Yeah, I guess I don't like it either. It's just sort of a... it seems too... fancy is not the right word. Arrogance not the right word. Like I don't know, just sort of high on your own supply. Like I'm a lover. Ooh. Narcissistic. It's not quite the right word. Anyway, it's a bad word. Just say that you're together.
Wait, are we still on episode 9 or are we on episode 10?
We're on episode 10.
Yeah, my biggest note from this episode is, wow, they both have a huge sister complex.
Episode 10 is when he saves his sister? Or is that episode?
No, episode 11 is when they save the sister. Episode
Okay.
10, there's the flashback with him, the brother trying to fix the timeline every time and not working. And his last ditch effort
No,
is
episode 10 is when they save. Yeah, they save her in episode 10.
Oh, where am I at?
I think
Is
we
it the
on
same
episode
episode?
9. I think we were on episode 9, and then we just kind of.
All I wanted to say at some point was
Okay,
they
that's
go
same
back.
episode. I thought they were different episodes.
They go back in time. They save his sister. They immediately go to the underground bunker.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking, you just erased the fact that you cured Now's brother. And it never gets brought up again. Did they go fix that off screen? Did they go and have the blind ladies sing for Tamori's brother and fix him again?
Oh.
Or did they just he was healed in that one timeline. We don't have time to deal with that now. Did they?
My thing is, his final solution was to start a school for... Why is that your final idea?
I think it's just to create a place to house...
Yeah, let's put them all together. So if somebody figures out that's where they're all at, they're all in one spot.
There's also a bunch of people that aren't there too.
That's true.
So it's sort of like how do we gather a bunch of how do we gather a bunch of young people without arousing suspicion? What's a place that gathers a bunch of young people? Oh, a school. Other than we're gonna underground railroad all these teenagers to a secret fortress in the mountainside. It's like, no, we're gonna have a believable place to house these kids at a school.
I got you.
A boarding school.
Also, this guy's probably not even 20 years old. How did he afford to buy a... How is he able to buy a school?
Back to the Future.
Yeah.
He got the sports
I don't
almanac.
think they're going to let an 18-year-old buy a school, though.
Well, they enlisted the help of adults. They specifically said we need to bring in adults to get finances secured, so they could win the lottery and sports almanac this shit, bet on stuff. They gained money by betting on future events that they knew the outcomes of. So, that part made the most sense. They just enlisted an adult's help.
Should have just
to buy the tickets.
Start his own casino.
Yeah, because that's a place to house a bunch of children. It's a casino. I don't know. It's Japan. You could call it casino school.
Boom.
Like Rail Wars did. It's yeah, this is a train school. It's a place where we can have teenagers work on a train system because they're in train school.
I reckon I don't work caboose.
I want to rewatch Rail Wars. I like Rail Wars better than this show.
Rail Wars is great.
I've actually never watched Rail Wars ever.
It's pretty good.
I know what we're doing after we end this episode.
Going to bed.
Yeah, but maybe a half hour. No, because Rail Wars is on
High Dive.
High Dive, and I don't have High Dive anymore. Okay. I was thinking about buying it, but they don't have an app on the PS4 or on smart TVs, so I'm I'd only be able to watch it on my computer or phone.
Do they have it on the Fire stuff, like Amazon? The
Maybe.
Fire Cubes and stuff? Because
I don't have
smart TVs don't have a Crunchyroll app, but
no,
all the Amazon Fire TVs and stuff like that do.
I don't know. You look. See if there's a High Dive app. If there is, give me your Amazon Fire Stick, and then I'll get High Dive.
You saved Ayumi.
Yep.
That's it.
They go and hide in the fortress, and then one of the
I just like the idea
alumni members.
Spent the whole episode of him grieving and kind of accepting her death, and then just 2 episodes later, just
throw that out the window. We're gonna save her.
Yeah. It's
you couldn't have come and picked me up. Done this earlier.
I just felt like it kind of cheated those episodes.
It's we didn't need those episodes anymore.
Yeah. It's what was the point then?
The point was sad bait.
Truth.
Anyways. Yeah. After that.
It's episode 11.
Episode 11. The titular episode.
Which a lot of important stuff happens in this episode. Which I remember all of it. But my only note for this is terrorism is bad, now our friends are dead.
Yeah. Other supergroups that have been gathering power learn of this group's existence, and they're like, we think you can't time leap anymore. If you time leap, we're going to assume something is different, and we're going to kill going to kill our hostages because they have Tomori and Pooh as hostages.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, our best bet is to send you out there, and if anything gets dicey, just time leap back to this moment here, and we'll re-strategize things. And then they go. He immediately gets his eye cut by another little girl with a knife.
Yeah, we don't get anything about her after that.
Yeah, no.
It's like,
Just that
this
she
cool
shoots a big ball of light out of her mouth.
yeah. She was cool, and then
Just
just
like
don't
Zatch
get
from
anything.
Zatch Bell. You watch that show?
Like
She kind of looked
periodic
like
episodes on stuff.
He's a kid that shoots lightning out of his mouth.
she reminded me of Jack the Ripper from Fate.
Okay. I guess I can make my obscure Zatch Bell reference and you can make a reference. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
What are we looking at here? Yeah, so he immediately gets his eye cut and he's like, I can't open and see out of my eye. Time leap doesn't work anymore. There's that overpowered ability taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Then he collapses the whole building because that's how collapse works. Is like if you're in high stress, high emotional state, it collapses things. He's able to use telekinesis to sort of
protect
himself. He's able now is protected by, I don't remember his real name, so I'm just going to keep calling him Pooh.
Yeah.
But like he's impaled with a rebar pipe.
Multiple pipes.
So
rebar.
he's just like, I'm going to bleed to death now. Pooh is alive. And then he dies. And then his brother is like, my best friend for the last 1,000 years of me time leaping is dead.
Yeah.
Now him, I can believe 1,000 years of friendship with this guy. Okay.
Yeah.
And he's blind.
Speaking of all aboard, possible lover. I'd ship it.
I do ship it.
Yeah.
Get on that ship. Get aboard.
We also passed over the fact that they explain how people got their powers. And it's from inhaling particles from a comet.
Yeah.
Called Charlotte.
Yeah.
And they're going to get vaccines to prepare for the next one.
Like, that's not going to work.
Like, good luck with that.
People aren't going to take your vaccines. They won't take it for a real disease. Much less ones that give kids superpowers.
Want to protect us from comet dust? No, thank you.
That's a vaccine I'd be a little iffy about. I'm not anti-vax, but I'm like, you're telling me comet dust is giving Japanese kids superpowers?
Not just Japanese kids.
I know. Giving kids superpowers.
Also, some city in London, some city in England is getting it too.
That's why Ben's nickname was A City in the United Kingdom. Because when he's traveling around the world in episode 13, like sometimes they'll put up like the city, the country he's in or the city that he's in. And Big Ben is in the background. And they're like, a city in the United Kingdom. It's like, just say London! People know what London is.
Like they said Manhattan, New York.
Yeah.
Exactly. Why can't you...
They can afford the rights to Manhattan, but not London?
It's... Big Ben is in the background. Why would you do this to me?
Mookie, why?
Yeah, I guess we got the gist of this episode. But yeah, you collapses the building.
He loses time leap, so he can't change things.
Mm-hmm. Pooh dies.
Mori is injured, but okay. He's injured, but okay. And Pooh dies.
Mm-hmm.
And the other people are like, alright, we're done fucking with you guys, I guess.
Yeah, I think they're caught.
They got caught in that collapse too, and they're like, we surrender.
Yeah.
So there's that thread taken care of. It's like, okay, it kind of built these guys up, and you thought there might be some sort of like, we're going into a bigger stage, a world stage here, and we're going to be dealing with other gangs and relationships there. It's like, nope, we're done with that.
Did they? I thought they died there.
Nope.
Because I know the girl died. The
little girl died, I think.
Ball
But
mouth girl's dead,
but the two adults, I think, are captured.
I think like the main guy and the interpreter are captured. I don't think they died.
Because they like called off their forces and stuff.
You wakes up from the hospital, blah blah blah, can't use time travel anymore. Talks to Misa to like tell her to talk to her parents before she dies because she's gonna be dead soon, even though she's already dead.
Yeah, she's gonna be gone, so make time for the people you care about. Which I thought he meant like, hey, you remember that boy that said he loved you? Like,
Yeah.
go spend some time with him.
Totally
or
wants to
something.
bang, even though you're dead.
Just go ahead and beg him.
With your sister's body. It's not like it's your virginity.
It's not like it's your baby, so have
Yeah.
fun.
You'll be gone before the baby's born. But no, instead, Yusik does a TV spot on her parents' restaurant, and then Misa takes over in the middle of it. And it's like, actually, the food is very plain, but it's delicious because I love
shit.
my parents. You can find this at a convenience store, and it'll taste about the same, but it's delicious because I love my parents.
Mm-hmm.
And the parents are like, we miss Misa. I know that our other daughter, Yusa, just gave a message, but we really miss Misa.
It was sweet. It's kind of
Yeah.
weird, but it was a sweet sentiment.
They talk about, like, okay,
Well, everybody knows you're here, so you might be involved in some terrorist attacks trying to get your powers.
get to you because people know now that you are the most powerful.
Yeah, do we totally forget? I guess we've mentioned it before, but like we've learned that he has the ability to plunder.
Yeah, he steals people's powers.
He steals people's power so he can use them.
Yeah.
And they can't use them afterwards.
Yeah, it's gone from them afterwards. So he's like, well, risky idea.
Hear me out.
I'm your best weapon. Instead of hiding me away, why don't I just go steal everybody's fucking powers?
Why don't we just turn me into a nuke?
And they're like, that would cause a lot of stress on you. And he's like, I can do it. You're running out of time. You have like a year.
You have like 2 years maybe.
Maybe. And he's like, I can do it. And then he's like, Tamori, I love you. And she gives a great face. She's like, what? What is this, a romance now? And he's like, yes. And then she's like,
Okay. But you gotta do your thing first.
yeah. I mean, I guess I'd be open for it if you save the world.
Yeah.
And he's like, deal. And then
he plunders all of the people's abilities. Joe's, Yusa, and Misa.
Yep.
And Tomori's.
Yep. Then he episode 13.
And the Walk Through Walls guide.
Yeah, Walk Through Walls guide.
Hypnosis chick and
Yeah.
Guy has the power of Ewan McGregor. Walk through walls.
Ben, I told you this before. It is physically possible. Matter is mostly empty space between atoms. It's physically possible that the empty space on that wall and the empty space between the atoms in your body could line up perfectly that you could run through that wall without hitting anything. But you still won't try it.
Not yet.
And that's what Ewan McGregor does at the very end of The Minister of Goats.
And it works.
Does it? We don't see.
Beginning he tries it and he fails. Or somebody does.
Yeah.
And then at the end he does.
At the end it cuts. Do we actually see him run through the wall or does it cut to black?
I think you see him like briefly go through and then it cuts.
When did that movie
As in,
come
like-
out? Because we watched that in theaters for my birthday when we were in like middle school or something.
And it was like the first R-rated movie I ever saw.
Maybe.
And like in theaters.
Was it R-rated?
Yeah.
That is
I'm
PG-13.
pretty sure it's R-rated. There's like tits at the very beginning of the movie.
Huh. Yeah, we saw that for my birthday. I feel like my mom dropped us off at the theater. And or
Probably.
saw the movie with us.
No, she wasn't there. It was just us two.
I don't think it was just us two. I think Hank was there as well, maybe.
No, it was just us two.
I feel like I had a birthday party that was more than just us two at that time in my life.
It wasn't a birthday party. We just went to see it.
No, I'm fairly for sure it was for my birthday.
Anyways. Episode 13.
Okay. The Minister of Goats. I haven't seen that movie in years. We should watch that movie again.
Good bits.
Okay. Episode 13. And this is the problem I have with episode 13, because I know you love it, Dylan. The problem I have is that they're just like, okay, episode 12 ends with like a promise of more adventure to come. Possibly more seasons. And they're like, nope, we're going to put everything in one episode, and it's going to be kind of pointless. We could have just said, he went and did it.
Yeah.
But instead, it's like I got a power that makes diseases worse. Wait a minute, this is a disease. There's people that have it as carriers. I can make it worse so that their powers come out right away and then steal them.
Yeah, so basically you could have ended at episode 12, say, oh, he's going to have this adventure. End credits, boom, he's back. We're good.
Yeah.
But no, they give us an entire season's worth of anime in one episode. You're just like, you couldn't make this like 12 episodes of him just traveling and taking powers and stuff?
Yeah. It's like, no, we're going to fit it all in one episode. It's going to be super rushed.
It's a really fun episode. It's a really good episode. You're just like...
I appreciate that they did it.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's better than the alternative of not acknowledging that he went and did it whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, I don't know, it's just a bit rushed. Do you want to defend yourself here, Dylan?
I mean, for a single season show, it was already underfunded as it was. Like, I think that ending is satisfactory. I mean, because I would rather me see a jumbled mess of stuff and like see him break down and pull back together every time he sees the note card thing that Now gave him. Like, you see it building and breaking him through the whole time, and then when he finally gets back, he's just this broken mess that he can't know who he is or what he is, etc. I think that episode is what really just topped off the whole romance for me too. Like,
Now's barely in it.
Well,
Anyway.
it's him constantly like looking at the flash.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
That
It's just
being
like,
the only thing
I
that's
really would
keeping
have
him
wanted
sane.
more. Now, as our two dedicated listeners know, I'm a sucker for romance.
Okay.
Same.
So, I really just wanted more time with them together. And I didn't really care that he went and had an adventure for a year where he absorbed everybody's powers. I was just like, I like the romantic conclusion. I don't need any of this supernatural stuff. Just give me a romance
You're
show.
just honest, like, I don't care if he succeeds as long as he's...
As long as they're happy.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
It's like, so what if people have powers?
Yeah.
They got a vaccine for it. It'll be fine.
Yeah, everybody takes the vaccines when they're supposed to.
Okay. I think it is a really cool episode, him traveling, getting all these powers, him exploring it, and him slowly losing his mind. I just kind of wanted more than just one episode.
Yeah, I think it'd be great to have, a whole other season of just seeing that. That'd be freaking awesome. But then I'd want a third season of just seeing the romance of it too. So, where does it end?
Never. That's how you get One Piece. One Piece doesn't have any romance in it from what I can tell.
I have no idea.
All I know is that Sanji is thirsty.
Apparently
nobody likes him.
There is an OVA, apparently.
I'm not watching that. Okay. Not for this show, at least. Maybe I'll watch it. We'd have to illegally find it because it's not on Crunchyroll.
Okay.
So I guess I can talk about. Well, I've already talked about some of the loose threads that they never brought up again. Like, did they go and heal Now's brother again? They don't talk about that. I'm assuming they do that off screen at some point.
Sure.
Did the blind lady have a power? She said she traded her eyesight for something. And he's like, when you do the same, make sure it's worth it. So I'm like, okay. So she had some sort of power that also caused her to lose her sight. What was that power? Was it to heal people with her music? Because that's what she did to the brother? Is it just to be successful? What was her power? You don't get to learn that. That's fine if we don't get to learn that, but it's just a thread they put out there and didn't tie up. Why did all those girls hate Tamori? They just sort of be like, yeah, I mean, she used her power and other people could see what she was doing with her power. Of course they would hate her. It's like, what did she use her power for? Did she, fuck one of their boyfriends or something without him knowing?
They brought that up in the show.
Well, they had...
It's hard to avoid one person getting beat up when everyone else can see her somewhere.
Yeah, so why was she beating people up?
Because what
they
she
don't
does.
say why, that's just what she does.
I
She
just
turns invisible and start beating people.
I just feel like there was here's my thought process. She wouldn't beat somebody up unless they already had beef against her. And why would they have beef against her unless she did something using her power?
See, what I think it is that at one point in time, she probably recorded something on her camera that she wasn't supposed to see. And that's where all the beef started.
I just think high school girls are evil.
That too.
They just see
That's
somebody
just
they don't
women.
like
Women
and
are
they just
evil.
gang up on her. She said something or did something or they just don't like her.
I feel like they opened that up And Takajo's like, it's better if you don't know. And then we see,
and then
they're just
happens.
at the end, they're just sort of like you can put the dots together. It's like maybe.
What dots? There were dots.
It's like I'm supposed to get the Mona Lisa, but you gave me 10 dots. It's like, and he doesn't like pry into it because at that point it's early in the show, and he's just like, yeah, I just let it happen. It's like, it's sad that it happened, but I just let it happen.
They don't bring it up again.
They don't bring it up again, so it's like, it seemed important at the time, but I guess it wasn't. Just to make us feel sad for her some more, which, I guess I shouldn't put it past the show. They might just do something like that.
Mm-hmm. But I like Tomori. Why are they beating her
up? There's also a point where he's like, I got the power to heal somebody, to heal. I should use that on my eye, and then I could time leap again. And then he's like, nope, we're past that. I'm like, why are you past that? You can still save Pooh.
Or it's just like, dude, you can at least see again.
Yeah.
You can use your eye. You don't have to time travel with it.
Like, you have the power to heal. Why wouldn't you heal? I get narratively why the author wouldn't want to use time travel to keep fixing things. I could even get to the fact of like, hey, things have turned out pretty okay. Maybe I don't want to fuck with that and time leap again. But why wouldn't you heal your eye? I don't get it. Why wouldn't you have the option? What if shit turns really south and you're like, you know what, I could really use a time leap right now? No, I'm abandoning that entirely because the author doesn't want us to have that too powerful of a narrative power again.
I mean, last episode, he's pretty well untouchable by anything. The dude has an RPG explode in his face, so...
Yeah, and he also got shot by 2 arrows by some street or shit.
Yeah.
I was an adventurer like you till I took an arrow to the back of the knee.
Do you know what an arrow to the knee means?
No.
Okay. This was explained to me by my friend Neil. Shout out Neil. He's a doctor now. If you take an arrow to the knee, what do you think you're going to do at that point?
Probably crunch your leg up. I don't know.
Crunch your leg up and kneel on the, like, you probably put it on the ground and kneel. What else do you do when you are kneeling? Don't say blowjob.
You can just say
that's...
What is something that is stereotypically associated with taking a knee?
Praying?
The answer is proposing marriage. So when a guard in Skyrim says, I was an adventurer like you till I took an arrow to the knee, it means, and it may even be like a Cupid relation thing too. It was he was basically, he took a knee, proposed, and got married, and now he can't be an adventurer.
You said take a knee, and then I just thought of football. I'm like, oh,
as soon as I said take a knee, I'm like, he's going to do some sort of sports thing with that. Really, it means that they got on one knee and proposed, and now they can't be adventurers again.
Gotcha.
And you could even say that they took Cupid's arrow to the knee.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
But if I'm wrong about that, I heard it from a doctor. So come at me. Of course, he wasn't a doctor at that time. He was just a nerd, but he's studying to become a doctor. Okay. Yeah, so that's, I don't know, that's my problem with the last episode. It's just rushed. It's like, we didn't really need it. It was fun, I suppose. But, I think I've made my gripes plain enough as to why I gave it a 6 or a 6.5. Maybe a 7, I don't know. But there are some gags that don't really land, which is the Takajo super fan of Yusa gags I don't really like. Yusa and Misa don't really have much to do in the last half of the show. So it's sort of like, this is our 4th big character. They're joining the student council, and they're relevant for like 3 episodes. And then they're not brought up again until the end when they're like, I should steal your powers.
That's true.
They didn't even really use Misa's power that much to be fire, other than just proving, like, yeah, powers are real. See, I just put flame in my head. And, like, she's sort of a combat thing, but they don't, like, the flying guy is the only one that they, like, combat.
She joins the club, then they switch to the other plot lines they got to get to, so they don't do anything with it.
Yeah, so it's just like, okay, so there's a character that they're setting up as important that ended up not really being important. underappreciated. Glasses Coon is underappreciated as normal.
I
As
think
it
he's
should
probably appreciated with his creepy obsessions.
That's fair. You know, I have a lot of gripes. I didn't like it as much this time as when I first watched it. It came out in 2015.
Yeah.
I probably watched it in 2015 or maybe early 2016, if I'm being honest. Because another guest of our show, past guest of our show, Joe, recommended it to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I watched it in 2015.
So, I don't know, 6.5, maybe a 7.
So I have gripes with it, but I still enjoyed watching it, so I rated it a little higher.
Well, yeah, and I was also like, again, there's a lot I didn't remember about the show, but things would kind of come back and be like, okay, yeah, this is what's happening. So, you rewatch, stuff goes down on rewatch sometimes. Okay. So we sorted it all aboard. Tamori now, best ship of the show. Mm-hmm. And then his brother, whose name I didn't write down, and
Pooh.
And Pooh is an okay ship.
Got any others?
Yusa and Misa
Nah.
together.
There's definitely Yusa and Ayumi.
Yusa and Ayumi. Okay. Because Ayumi is also
That's
a
the
big
little
fan.
sister.
Okay. That's an interesting one.
Oh, I got it. Ayumi and pizza sauce. Because that's a bit that she keeps doing. She keeps putting pizza sauce in all of the food she makes for her brother. Because their mom circled it in a book saying his favorite recipe was omelet rice with pizza sauce. Mm-hmm. And he keeps being like, it's too damn sweet. Sure, I liked it as a kid, but I'm sick of pizza sauce and everything. But he never tells his sister that he doesn't like it because he's too big of a simp for his sister.
Yep. My ship would be Knife Girl and her knife.
Knife Girl and Knife.
My
Oh,
ship
okay.
would be Knife Girl in School Days. That's where she belongs.
Okay. Best girl. I'm going Tamori. Obvious.
Yeah,
It's Tamori.
Maybe Misa. Misa's definitely better than Yusa. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's Tamori and then Misa and then nobody else. Who cares?
Then whatever. The hypnotized girl. She's not a character.
Maybe she's pretty hot. I like that she falls asleep when she puts people to sleep. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's one thing I like about this show is that they gave people powers, but they all have
ridiculous
conditions.
downsides.
Yeah.
And then some people are just like, nah, you don't really have a downside.
Yeah, I
Like
don't
the dude
think.
who can fly. It's not really downside. I think you just can fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think his thing was he just didn't know how.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, you got to really practice that.
Mm-hmm.
Like telekinesis. There's no downside to that. It's just telekinesis. Yeah.
I guess.
Oh, I have a note here. When he's having trouble moving his body, at one point I'm like, just puppet your body with telekinesis. I have a note here that says kill everyone. Oh, that was our other plan for instead of stealing everybody's powers, just kill them all.
Okay. It's why take care of all the mutants and just kill everyone?
Just kill everybody. Not even all just the mutants, but everybody.
Don't take that chance.
Just kill them all. Women and the children, too.
Yeah. Any other notes? I don't have any other notes. Do we have dibs count?
I have dibs on now because I knew that when I saw a hand holding a camera that would be her. So I'm like, dibs as soon as I saw a hand. You got Yusa and Misa.
Mm-hmm. I got Beanie Guy. I don't remember Beanie Guy.
Beanie Guy.
And somebody named Sala. I don't remember who Sala is.
That's the singer.
Oh, I got the singer. Yeah, you're right.
Okay,
That is the singer.
yeah.
So I got the singer too. That's all my dibs.
Beanie Guy. Who was Beanie Guy?
I think it was just some guy in the background who was really hot who was wearing a beanie. So I called dibs on him.
Okay. All right. Oh, no. Beanie Guy was the guy that Misa. The guy who was like, we were in that motorcycle crash and you died and I didn't.
He wasn't wearing a beanie. He just had red hair.
Well, maybe it was the other guy with him that had a beanie.
No.
Yeah, he had a beanie. Yeah, the other one.
That wasn't that guy though.
That's not the guy you called
No,
dibs on?
no, that guy wasn't hot.
Okay, then.
I don't know.
Again, it was just a background character.
All right. Dylan, you, of course, didn't get any dibs because you have a wife.
And you weren't there.
That's a
I
new
still
rule.
get dibs.
That's not a new rule. You just weren't here.
I just got dibs on everyone just because I watched it by myself.
And what proof do you have of that?
Dibs only counts if you're watching it with somebody else.
If you're watching with somebody else who plays the game. So none of that, I watched it with my infant daughter bullshit. Or even Derek, he doesn't understand dibs.
So true, though.
Maybe.
I watched the majority of it while I was holding them while they slept on the couch, so.
Doesn't count.
Yeah, so that's...
There has to be
Somebody else who plays the game has to be there to call claim on your dibs.
Or at least acknowledge them.
Yeah. You also can't walk into a room without announcing your presence and snipe a dibs from somebody. So, like, in our living room, we have the two entrances to the living room. If I'm on the couch and I can't see Ben enter, he's not allowed to just call dibs on somebody I'm watching until he's announced his presence and 5 seconds has passed.
I thought it was 3 seconds.
Something like that. I don't know. Some amount of time has passed where it's like, okay, the game is afoot. Basically.
Could you call dibs in those 3 seconds?
Could I call dibs in those 3 seconds? No, because Ben has not entered the game yet. Basically, to enter the game, you have to announce your presence as you're coming into the room, and 3 seconds after that, or 5 seconds, or whenever a moment has passed, then the game is afoot.
Yes.
Gotcha.
We might have to do an episode on dibs. There's a lot of dibs rules.
Well, we need to get the Council of Bens together to formally write down the dibstitution.
Dibstitution.
Which I should note, the Council of Bens has a token minority Johnny in it.
Yes.
That is me.
There's only two. I don't know. We're getting off subject again.
Well, Hank likes to think of himself as a Ben.
He's an honorary Ben.
Yeah. But he's an honor. He was granted the
title of Ben, but not.
But he was not a member of the council. It's the opposite of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have given you the rank of Ben, but not a seat on the council or something.
Something like that. Yeah. Okay.
Anyways,
so really, it's just you, Ben, and me, and if we can wrangle another Ben, maybe. But we need to get it officially signed into Dibs law.
That's how I can get it notarized.
Yeah. My sister's a notary. You can do this. I think she might be like, why the hell am I doing this? What is this? And then I'd have to explain it to her, and she would be disgusted with us as people.
Probably not sign it.
Probably not notarize it for us.
Anyways. Roewe, do you have any other things to say before we end?
Pretty sure I covered all my notes.
Okay. I'm sorry we didn't like it as much as you like it.
Which is fine. That was one of those shows I'm like, this is a really niche show that I don't think a whole lot of people like, but I just loved.
Yeah, which means
it's a very cool concept. I like the concept. I just don't think it was executed perfectly.
Yeah, and if there's a subreddit for it, I bet that subreddit's dead, so we're going to get nobody to listen to this episode. Those are the only episodes that do well when I can find an active subreddit to post them in.
Just post them in, like, non-related subreddits.
Put it in the Venture Brothers subreddit.
Have you watched My Little Monster?
No.
You just want us to keep covering...
I'm just going to keep going through my top 10 list.
Okay.
She's like, I will come on for this episode.
I know I couldn't get him to watch Food Wars. It's
too long.
80 episodes.
Too long.
Yeah.
Like, maybe season 1, but I don't know. I feel like season 1 wasn't the pinnacle.
If there's multiple episodes or seasons, I don't want to watch one season. The only show I would probably do that for is, like, Chihaya Furu, but I've seen half of the first season, so.
Yeah. Ooh, we should watch Chihaya Furu.
Show's great. I just fell off.
No idea what we're going to cover next. Do you want me to wrap this episode up?
Sure.
Okay. So you can find us on YouTube as Anime Territory, on podcast platforms such as Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts as Anime Territory. We are on Twitter as @anime_territory. We sometimes stream on my Twitch @DementedGoku. Right? Yes. I was making sure that was still my Twitch name. It was that, not some variation of that. We have episodes every other week.
Yep.
I have no idea. Well, I have an idea of what our next episode is going to be, but we're going to have to get it recorded before we commit to it.
Yep.
Dylan, it's great having you on as well. Hopefully now that you only have one job instead of two, because that 2-job life was exhausting. Maybe you'll have more time to be on again. You are now leaving the Anime Territory.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Okay, testing 1, 2, 3.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Testing pineapple pizza is good.
Get the fuck out of my house.